good afternoon or morning, as it may be, wherever you are. This is Lucky Links, and I'm going to answer a question that I keep getting on how to get out of the way when you're doing a reading. Some people have asked me, what's the best way to develop psychic abilities or to improve quickly? I've said this in other videos. If you can get out of the way, it's the easiest way and the quickest way to develop and to get an accurate read. Also, I've shown you in some other videos some techniques. I'm going to bring a concept into this from writing. When you are writing a novel or a story, you have a choice of point of view. You can do first person, which is the I point of view. You can do the second person, which is the you point of view. Or you can do the third person, which is the they, he, she, it. When you do a first person, your ability as a storyteller is limited by what the character that's telling from the I point of view can know about the other people. In other words, let's say you've got a story with like 5 different characters, but it's being told from the point of view of this guy. This guy can only tell you, as he's telling the story, well, this is what happened to me, his impressions of what he thought the other person was thinking. He can't actually jump into their heads. You limits it to only you, and it limits whose perception you can get into. But third person, if you're a third person, if you're telling a story from a third person, you can access everything. You can see everything. You stand back from the distance, you can get into each one of the characters' heads. Why am I telling you this? It's an idea that we're going to bring into using Lenormand, and since I'm using my new fairy tale, my Once Upon a Time Oracle, the idea I think will take hold here in a minute. Since pretty much all fairy tales are told from a third-person point of view, you can pretty much get into the mindset of each one of the characters. Hope that makes sense, because what we're going to do is we're going to go forward now. If you're trying to get out of the way and you're doing a reading from yourself, it's kind of tricky because you get the I, like the first person I, and it limits what it can tell other people are doing. However, if you tell it in third person like a story, it changes things. I'm going to show you right now. So we're just going to do a 3-card spread, and I may layer another concept on here if this isn't too much, if this isn't enough to overload you with. Okay, so let's do 3 cards, and then I'll show you. I'll show you how it changes with the change of point of view. This is something you can do in your work. Okay, so we got the writer, the key, and the lily. So what happens here is then you can say, if you're reading for yourself, I'm moving towards a key that will give me new life. And that's where it is. I'm moving towards a key that will give me new life. Okay? If you read it like a story, like a sentence, if you read it more traditionally. But sometimes when you're reading for yourself, emotions can get involved, and you can be like, well, what's the key? If you don't know what the key is, you can be limited because then you come up against blocks. See? So let's change the perspective. There's movement towards new possibilities that bring new life, if we read it as a combination of writer, key, lily. So now let's take it another step further, and let's look at, I'm going to go a little forward in the concept here, and I hope it's not too much. Let's look for motivations in this. There's movement towards opening a new self. The person's motivated to really change his or her situation and find the key to unlock something that gives him or her new life. Now, if you take yourself out of the picture, and if you distance yourself by using third person, now it's not, well, what's the key? It's like, okay, well, at this point in my life, everything I'm doing, or everything let's say it's I'm the reader, okay? He's trying to move towards a new opportunity here, a new way of being, a renewal. Okay, so then it's like, okay, well, what would do that? Okay. Let's ask what would do that. What would give the answer to that? Boots. That's the Puss in Boots. So if I take it as a straight Lenormand and I say it's an I, well, my luck, I can be lucky. That's limiting. That's somewhat limiting, and it may leave you confused. So let's look at it this way. If I look at it from a third-person perspective, like I'm a storyteller or I'm a writer, well, this person has to recognize his own legacy, his own abilities, his own talents. He's not using them all. In Puss in Boots, the story, the miller's son didn't realize what he had. The cat had been given to him, and he had enough to make a huge legacy, an entire kingdom. So, recognizing his own legacy or her own legacy is the key. So now I put it at third person, it becomes easier to get a distance from it and see it more objectively. You see? So then I'm going to add one more. How do I do that? Well, this is the story of the moth and the stars. This is the stars. He can't take, or she can't take no for an answer, and she can't listen to other people's views on the subject. The only thing that matters is that drive inside of him or her towards that goal. And only he or she knows what that goal is, in spite of what all the others around them, him or her, are trying to say. I'm going to add one more just for good luck. That's the anchor. So, he's struggling against, or she's struggling against security. Also, she has to recognize that this is the piece that will make his or her faith in themselves unshakable, because all of it comes from within them. That's how you do it. So you shift from the first person to the third person. Then you can look at what the motivations are underneath. You can read it as a straight fortune telling. There is movement towards a key that brings new life. Luck comes from that, and new hope, and a greater sense of solidity than he or she's had than he or she's had before. Okay, so you can do a straight fortune telling, or we could do a combination, a key, a rider and a key. That combination might be something in motion, a key in motion, whatever a key in motion would be. Or it could be movement, and then these two could be, there's an improvement in his health. That makes movement much easier. And this could be an optimistic person comes into his life and helps shed new light on this situation, and or gives them a more solid approach. Okay, so that's how you do it. I hope this makes sense, and I hope it wasn't too cerebral. So let me know if it works for you, and if you have any other questions about it, put a thing below, and I'll do my best, as always, to answer any questions that you have. And as always, wishing you success and good fortune in all that you do. If you want to get a hold of this new deck, the Once Upon a Time Oracle, drop me a message, and I'll tell you how to do that.